Never, ever, ever seen such a complete failure, says the new FTX CEO who oversaw Enron's bankruptcy. That's how bad it is. You know, when the market bell, I was just wrong. You know, when you have the guy who oversaw Enron, right, after its collapse, and then now he's looking at FTX and he's saying it's even worse, that tells you how bad things really are. So there's basically absence of trustworthy data, no financial safeguards in place whatsoever. Everything that he's seen is just risky and risky and risky, and there's nothing secure about anything. And he was saying too, there like the admin key that like the whole group, the admin email that the whole group had was, you know, was the main login, right? Like they were sharing everything. I mean, it was just bad, just very bad, very, very, very bad. So whatever Sam's been saying about how much is missing, right? And he tried to divert blame to Caroline, saying it's all Alameda's fault, right? FTX was secure, we had more assets and this and that. You know what? After this is all said and done, that $8 billion hole could turn into a $20 billion hole or even more. We don't know because none of the stuff on the books is actually accurate. And they have to audit every single thing, every single asset that the company has at this point. That's how bad things are. So this is the reason why when evaluating crypto projects or crypto exchanges, sometimes having some seasoned people in there is not a bad thing. I get in crypto space, a lot of people want to see new blood, the young people come in with new ideas and start new things, and that's great and all. But you know, when you're running a multi-billion-dollar operation, you know, having some of that maturity wouldn't be so bad. But then again, of course, with FTX, when things were good and things were flying, you know, it seemed like they were on top of the world, right? It's easy to say that now in hindsight, but one of the criterias that I look at, you know, sometimes with new projects is to look at the leadership. You know, are they trustworthy? Have they done anything, right? Or are they nobody? So something to keep in mind going forward when evaluating new projects and new exchanges to use, right? This new FTO CEO, the one that oversaw the Enron bankruptcy, I mean, he's uncovering things left and right. Besides a $45 million mansion, they've been buying penthouses and all this stuff left and right. But of course, because Alameda, you know, had this close relationship with FTX, they were granted exemption from their auto liquidation feature, margin call. So if Alameda did something bad and their leverage was getting really negative, right? They should be just like liquidated. They should be margin called. But no, because SBF then, of course, said, nah, you know, don't worry about it. We'll just get rid of the auto liquidation feature. So you could just be, you know, in leverage forever. So stuff like that, right? This is why the new CEO is saying, I've never, ever seen anything this bad before. Not even Enron. Because you just had a bunch of really kids. I can't even call them kids because they're like, you know, late 20s, 30s, but still a bunch of kids that just winged it, right? They just winged it. They manipulated. They just shifted money left and right and thought that, you know, it just works out. But then it gets more interesting. And I don't know how this plays into it, and maybe others have already looked into it. But because FTX is in the Bahamas, right? There's some kind of connection there. Just like my thumbnail. SBF was breaking ground with all these higher ups in the Bahamas. So now it seems like the Bahamian regulators or the insiders that was working with SBF asked SBF to send their assets to them. This was unauthorized. This was not legal. No one said that FTX could do this. But I don't know if there was an inside connection or they were coerced. I don't know what happened, but there's this emergency court filing that was revealed that says that SBF transferred these assets to the custody of Bahamian government. How much was transferred? I don't know. Is it still there? What was the primary reason for that? So people are trying to figure out what the hell's going on. Like, exactly how much was there and why was it requested? This was unauthorized, right? So there's this kind of stuff that's going on right now too. So there's just so much stuff. But let's start out with the Contagion. Yesterday, Genesis Trading paused withdrawals. They're the ones that provide Gemini with their earn program. They are more catered to institutions, but they do some retail stuff with Gemini. So they are a lending company as well, but they're beyond lending. They're actually quite big in all aspects. So they shut down withdrawals yesterday. And that's the market bell. The best bell in the industry, guys. So they did that, and today it seems like this is the reason why. Because they're down $1 billion. They're looking for $1 billion bailout from investors. Okay? Now, did they lose $1 billion just with FTX? According to reports, no. They had about 10% of their total assets. Somewhere in here, it was like 100. It came out to be like 100 million or something. No, 175 locked in. Okay, so pretty much assume that that's just gone. But that's not the biggest thing, because they lost earlier this year $2.3 billion to Three Arrows Capital. That's a lot to make up. So Three Arrows Capital fell earlier, I think June of this year, and they were hurt badly. $2.3 billion. Now another $175 million due to funds on FTX. So Genesis. Genesis Trading, lending, they're in a world of hurt right now. So this is the reason why, of course, the contagion, unfortunately, is still spreading, right? This time, it's more like the crypto projects, the crypto companies, I should say, rather than the individual smaller projects that's retail-based. Now we're seeing more of the back-end guys, the providers, the bigger kind of like the crypto institutions that's getting really hurt by FTX. But that's not all. There's another firm called Genesis Block, which has nothing to do with Genesis lending or trading. But this company also is very involved with OTC, again, institutions, and ATM. They're actually one of the largest Asia providers for Bitcoin ATM machines. So they also just basically ceased. They stopped their OTC trading, and they told everyone to withdraw everything they have from their ATMs, right? So they're also really hurt by FTX. So unfortunately, the contagion is still spreading at this point. But like I said, right now it seems like it's all spreading to more like the back-end players, the ones that's serving institutions and so forth, not so much like the retail side. And that could be good. Well, it's never good when anything collapses, but at least it does seem like the contagion is somewhat limited on the retail side. Let's just put it that way. But Silvergate says there's always there's rumors that Binance may be acquiring Genesis, because Genesis looks like they could still be solvent, and they may have done it just because they're fearful, right? But who knows? Or maybe there's just rumors, because Binance has not made any acquisitions, really. CZ said something about making small acquisitions, but nothing on this scale. And this could happen, and who knows? Maybe CZ bails out some of these other guys too, like BlockFi, and maybe they'll try to look at Celsius again or Voyager. I don't know, but we'll see. But rumors are they may be looking to acquire Genesis. This morning I did cover about Gemini, the contagion spread not to Gemini but to Genesis, right? Also part of contagion. And it scared a whole lot of people, because right after Gemini said we're fine, they had a network outage. maybe because too many people were trying to withdraw or something. So they had a network outage and people got really spooked, and then they restored service. So Gemini is still fine right now. They're completely open. Withdrawals still happening. But their partner, Genesis, who had lending and gave interest for people who deposited, basically like how Celsius was, they have shut down withdrawals, unfortunately. So, and that's due to the FTX Contagion as well. But the good thing is Gemini is back up, and it is spreading now to the Fed, to the government, and that's not good. All of a sudden, you have banking giants and a New York Fed. They're going to start piloting a digital dollar for about 3 months. The timing of it. Why now? Why now? We've been hearing about the digital dollar for quite some time. All of a sudden, after the collapse, now we see them start testing it out. It makes you wonder, did they plan this all along? Coincidence? It just happens that it's starting now, right? We may never know, but I would say this is part of the contagion, because now, unfortunately, with this major collapse, you have a lot of people fearful about crypto, about unregulated exchanges, and about people who run them, right? And overall, you got to realize that the Fed and the banks, they know what blockchain and decentralized finance and Bitcoin is all about. It's to destroy them. They're not oblivious to that. So I do think they're feeling the pressure, but they're taking an opportunity right now to say, hey, why not? Why not do it now, right? Especially after the collapse. Besides just crypto projects, now you have the Fed and the banks. They're jumping all over this right now because for them, it's like the prime opportunity, right? Prime opportunity to do so. And let's not forget BlockFi. BlockFi was the best of all the lenders. They still had their withdrawals still open up until 2 days ago. And that's because FTX made a big deal with BlockFi, presented them with a $400 million credit line, and they promised basically they would buy BlockFi for $240 million. Unfortunately, all that went away. BlockFi says they have enough assets, right? They have options, but bankruptcy is a real possibility. So again, another project that had ties with FTX, and unfortunately, they look like they're going under too. But who knows? They say they have more than enough assets, and they're going to explore all options. So maybe they can find a suitor and maybe get past this. You still have the exchange balances dropping like a rock right now because of all the fear, and that's good. People are learning to safeguard their own crypto, right? So this is fantastic. We want to see people learn how to safeguard in crypto, and it's fantastic because the less Bitcoin there is on exchanges, the better it is overall.